Have you ever really stopped to think about where some of our, most powerful symbols come from? The ones we just sort of get.
Hmm. Like they're baked into our understanding somehow.
Exactly. Take scapegoat. We all use it, right? Blaming someone unfairly, making them carry the weight for everyone else, it's just shorthand.
A universal concept, pretty much.
But what if its origins were way older and honestly, a lot stranger and more complex than you'd guess?
Now we're getting somewhere interesting.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're taking a whole stack of sources, ancient texts, rabbinic debates, philosophy, anthropology, all of it.
And we're going deep?
We really are.
Yeah.
We're plunging into the history and symbolism behind the scapegoat, starting with its really mysterious biblical roots and this figure, or place,
Yeah.
called Azazel.
Azazel. Yeah, that name alone opens up a whole world of questions.
So for this deep dive, we've got Leviticus, obviously, but also rabbinic commentaries wrestling with this stuff for ages. Thinkers like Maimonides trying to make sense of it.
Plus the big anthropological guns, Fraser, Girard looking at the human side of it all.
And we'll even look at stuff from before the Bible, comparing rites across different cultures. It's quite a mix.
It really shows how widespread these ideas were.
Our mission today, to pull out the key insights, trace how this powerful idea developed, and figure out what this ancient, frankly, kind of bizarre ritual tells us about human needs, our beliefs, maybe even our psychology.
It's a journey that connects a lot of dots, history, myth, maybe even how we think today.
It's going to be fascinating. Okay, let's unpack this.
What's truly fascinating here is how deeply this concept is woven into human history. It's not just one culture, one time period.
Right. It seems to pop up everywhere, even before the Bible codifies it.
Absolutely. It speaks to this fundamental human need, this drive to deal with collective problems, guilt, anxiety, misfortune. How do you get rid of it?
You find a way to externalize it.
Exactly. And societies came up with these incredibly diverse, yet weirdly similar ways to do just that. It's a deep universal need.
And you see that drive immediately when Azazel first appears in the Bible. Leviticus 16, verse 8. It says, Aaron shall place lots upon the two goats, one marked for YHWH and the other marked for Azazel.
Right there. Just listen to that phrasing. One for YHWH, one for Azazel.
The parallelism is undeniable. It feels symmetrical, almost unsettlingly so. YHWH, God, and then Azazel, side by side.
It's jarring, isn't it? Especially if you're thinking strictly monotheistically. It almost sounds dualistic.
Like Azazel could be a rival or some kind of counterpart. It definitely suggests something more than just, I don't know, a random detail.
Precisely. It hints at maybe a pre-Manichaean kind of thinking, where you might have had two opposing forces, good and evil, maybe seen as more balanced. It really challenges a simple reading.
So right from the start, Azazel isn't just a name, it's a puzzle. It carries this tension.
A huge theological puzzle. And you can see how later commentators, the rabbis, really felt they needed to grapple with this, that parallelism was potentially problematic.
They needed to resolve it somehow, to protect the idea of one singular God.
Absolutely. They couldn't just leave this impression of two equal powers hanging there. It was a delicate balancing act.
So how did they handle it?
Well, their ingenuity is pretty remarkable. Take Onkelos, who translated the Torah into Aramaic. He subtly tweaked the phrasing.
How so?
Instead of just one lot for YHWH, he wrote one lot for the name of God. It's a small change, but significant.
The name of God.
Yeah.
Like emphasizing God's transcendence, putting him on a different level.
Exactly. It's a common way to show reverence, but here it also elevates YHWH and sort of implicitly lowers Azazel. It breaks that symmetry, makes it clear they aren't equals. A very clever theological move.
Okay. So that's one approach. Diminish the status. What else?
Well, Rashi, the hugely influential medieval commentator, went a completely different route. He said Azazel wasn't a being at all. It was a place.
A place, like a location.
Yeah, he described it very vividly. A hard and austere mountain, a high cliff, a cut, rugged land, basically the middle of nowhere, a desolate spot.
I can see the appeal of that. If Azazel is just geography, it takes away any spiritual threat, right? No demon, no rival god.
Precisely. It localizes it, neutralizes it. The goat is just being sent to a place, not to an entity. The sins vanish into the rugged landscape. Problem solved in a way.
Turns an enigma into a map coordinate. Clever.
Very. And then, even simpler, some later commentators like Ibn Ezra and Maimonides suggested Azazel was just the name of the goat itself.
The name of the goat, seriously.
Yep. Just the goat called Azazel. That reduces it even further, right down to an object, an animal, removes any hint of supernatural power or threat.
Wow. That feels almost too simple. Like it misses the weight the original text seems to give it.
It's certainly an elegant way to diffuse a theological bomb, but yeah, maybe it smooths things over a bit too much. It strips away the mystery.
But then things take a turn, don't they? There's another interpretation that pops up, one that's way more unsettling, from the Talmud.
Oh, absolutely. This one shifts everything. In the Talmud, Tractate Yoma, it says, the school of Rabbi Ishmael explained that it is called Azazel because it atones for the sins of the fallen angels Uzzah and Aziel.
Fallen angels. Okay, hold on. Uzzah and Azazel. Where does that come from?
This connects directly to non-canonical texts, especially the Book of Enoch, a very influential text in that period.
Enoch, right? The one with the watchers, the angels who came down and caused trouble.
Exactly. Azazel, sometimes spelled Azazel, the names are clearly linked, is a major figure there. One of the leaders of these fallen angels, the Watchers, or Grigori.
And they taught humans forbidden stuff, weapons, magic, cosmetics, all the things that led to corruption.
That's the story in Enoch. Azazel is portrayed as a primary source of evil, inciting humans to sin, teaching them things they weren't meant to know.
So suddenly Azazel isn't a place or a goat. It's a demon, a fallen angel tied to the origin of sin itself.
That's the implication, a malevolent supernatural being. And think about what that means for the ritual. If you're sending the sin goat to this entity,
Are you appeasing it? Sending sin back to its source? Banishing it to the realm of demons?
it opens up all those possibilities. It gives the ritual a much darker, more cosmic dimension, a spiritual battle playing out.
That's a massive interpretive leap. And it resonates with some modern scholarly ideas too, right? About Azazel maybe being some kind of desert entity.
Indeed. Many modern scholars lean toward the idea that Azazel was originally conceived as a desert deity, or perhaps a powerful desert spirit or demon.
Which makes sense, given how the wilderness was often viewed in the ancient world.
Totally. The desert was the other place. Realm of chaos, danger, untamed forces, demons. Sending the goat there to an entity of the desert makes perfect sense as a way to banish impurity to the ultimate outside.
Get it as far away from ordered society as possible.
Exactly. Consign it to the forces of chaos.
And some sources even connect Azazel beyond the immediate region, right? To Babylonian or other myths.
Yes, the Jewish encyclopedia suggests Azazel might have been a fallen Babylonian deity, with echoes in Sabaean, Mandean, even Arabic mythologies.
So not necessarily an Israelite invention at all, maybe someone they borrowed or adapted.
That's a strong possibility. It suggests the Israelites were interacting with the wider religious world around them, perhaps taking a known figure, maybe this desert deity or fallen god, and recontextualizing it within their own system.
Maybe trying to neutralize its power or redirect beliefs associated with it.
Could be. It's common in religious history, absorbing and reframing elements from other cultures. It shows how dynamic belief systems were back then.
And the Bible itself kind of hints that these sorts of beliefs were around, even if forbidden. There's that verse in Leviticus 17, isn't there, about sacrifices to goat demons.
Leviticus 17.7, it's incredibly revealing. They may offer their sacrifices no more to the goat demons with whom they prostituted themselves.
Wow. Prostituted themselves. That's strong language.
It is. It confirms that worshiping these kinds of entities, maybe goat-like fertility spirits or phaconic underworld beings, was a real issue. It wasn't just a theoretical danger. It was something people were actually doing.
So if people were already sacrificing to these goat demons, maybe the Azazel ritual was a way to deal with that.
That's a fascinating thought. Like, instead of forbidding it outright and driving it underground, maybe the official ritual was a way to co-opt that impulse.
Channel it. Like, okay, you're worried about these wild forces. We'll handle them, but our way. We won't sacrifice to Azazel. We'll send our sins to Azazel's realm.
It's a brilliant form of sublimation, potentially. A way to incorporate and neutralize potentially dangerous folk beliefs within the official religious structure. Control the narrative, control the ritual.
Makes sense. And this idea of wild half-animal beings, it connects to other cultures too, doesn't it? Like the Greek satyrs.
Absolutely. There's a definite affinity there. If we connect this to the bigger picture, you see a deep human fascination with forces outside their control, often personified in these half-animal wild figures.
Satyrs. Okay, most people picture Pan, maybe. Go legs, pipes.
Pretty much. Originally in older Greek art, they were more horse-like, tails, ears. But later, especially through confusion with Roman fauns and the god Pan, they got those goat features.
And they were tied to Dionysus, the god of wine and revelry.
Intimately. Satyrs were all about wine, music, ecstatic dancing, chasing nymphs. They embodied that wild, untamed, unrestrained side of nature and, well, human desire. pure impulse.
Living on the fringes, outside the rules of the city.
Exactly. Wild, lustful, sometimes mischievous, sometimes a bit dangerous in their unpredictability, but mostly seen as followers in Dionysus's wild entourage. They represent the id, maybe, those primal urges.
So you draw a line from those goat demons the Israelites were warned about, these wild Near Eastern entities, to the Greek satyrs, and you see the shared archetype, don't you? Personifications of untamed nature, raw impulse, the wildness both outside us and maybe inside us too.
It's a powerful, recurring figure across cultures, representing everything that human order tries to contain, but maybe can't quite erase.
Okay, so we've wrestled with who or what Azazel might be. Now, let's get into the ritual itself, the nuts and bolts. Leviticus 16.10 gives the basic command. Send the goat chosen for Azazel out to the wilderness for Azazel.
Right, that's the core instruction. But for the really vivid details, the step-by-step, you have to go to the Mishnah, specifically Tractate Yoma. It lays out the whole procedure.
And those details are crucial for understanding the symbolism, right? It wasn't just random.
Not at all. Every detail seems loaded with meaning. For instance, it starts with 2 goats, and they had to be, quote, identical in color, height, and monetary value.
Identical. Why?
That equivalence is key. Before the lots are cast, neither goat is inherently good or bad, holy or profane. They're interchangeable.
So the choice isn't based on the goat itself.
Exactly. It underscores that the designation comes purely from the lottery, from divine choice, not from any quality of the animal. Fate, essentially.
Okay, so identical goats. Then the high priest steps up.
Yes. He goes to an urn, mixes 2 lots inside. One says for God, the other for Azazel. Then he reaches in, pulls out 1 lot in each hand.
You can just imagine the tension in that moment. Everyone watching.
Absolutely. It was seen as God directly indicating the fate of each goat, a moment of divine revelation.
And once the lots are drawn,
the destinies diverge immediately. The goat for Azazel gets a crimson wool band tied on its head. The goat for God is positioned ready for sacrifice. Visually distinct fates.
that crimson band, it feels significant. Why crimson? Is it just to mark it?
It's almost certainly symbolic of sin. Think of Isaiah. Though your sins are like scarlet, they shall be as white as snow. Though they are crimson, they shall become like wool.
Ah, right. So the crimson is literally the color of sin.
It seems so. It visually brands the goat as the carrier of the community's transgressions, makes the invisible burden of sin visible on the animal that will carry it away.
Okay, so the goat is marked.
Yeah.
Then comes the really core part, right?
Yeah.
The actual transfer.
Yes. After the other goat is sacrificed, the high priest approaches the Azazel goat, the scapegoat. He lays both his hands firmly on its head.
Both hands. That feels deliberate.
Very. And as he does this, he recites this powerful confession, this formula, asking God to forgive all the sins, iniquities, transgressions of the entire people of Israel.
And the idea was the sins literally moved onto the goat.
In the ancient mindset, yes, the laying on of hands was the mechanism. It was believed that the collective guilt, the impurity, the moral weight of the community's failings was literally transferred, absorbed by the animal.
Wow. The goat becomes the physical embodiment of their sin.
Exactly. It's a tangible way to deal with an abstract problem. The community could see their sins being loaded onto this creature.
A profound act of transference.
Yeah.
So once the goat is carrying all that, you have to get rid of it permanently.
Absolutely. Total, irreversible removal was the goal. The Mishnah says the goat was handed over to a designated man, traditionally not an Israelite, but a Gentile.
Why Gentile?
Probably to keep the Israelite community ritually pure, outsourcing the final polluting act of disposal. Keeps her hands clean, so to speak.
Makes sense. And this Gentile takes the goat where?
Out into the wilderness. A specific, dangerous route, apparently involving bridges and watching stations, and the final destination, a precipice, a cliff.
Amen.
He pushes it off into the void to its death.
Pushes it into the void. That's chilling phrasing.
It is. The wilderness itself is symbolic chaos, exile, the realm outside God's ordered space. The void, the cliff edge, signifies absolute annihilation, no return possible.
So the sin isn't just removed, it's destroyed, utterly lost.
That was the critical point. It couldn't come back. The ritual needed to provide that certainty, that closure.
Which makes that thought experiment you mentioned so potent. The idea of the scapegoat somehow getting free and coming back.
Oh, it's terrifying from their perspective. Imagine that goat, crimson band and all, laden with everyone's sins turning up back at the temple.
It would mean the ritual failed. The sins weren't gone.
Exactly. It would be a spiritual catastrophe, utter despair. It underscores how vital that absolute irreversible removal was for their sense of purification and peace with God. The fear of its return proves the ritual's psychological power.
The need for definitive closure. But this very literal idea, sins as things you can transfer and push off a cliff, that understanding changes over time, doesn't it? With thinkers like Maimonides.
Profoundly, Maimonides, writing centuries later, approaches it with his characteristic rationalism in the Guide for the Perplexed.
What was his take? Did he dismiss it as superstition?
Not exactly dismiss, but reinterpret. He flatly states, sins are not bodies that can be transferred from the back of one individual to that of another.
Okay, so no literal transfer.
Right. He says these actions, the whole ritual, are only symbols intended to make an impression on the soul, so that this impression leads to penitence.
Ah, so it's symbolic. Psychological. It's meant to affect the people, not just get rid of a physical sin package.
Precisely. For Maimonides, the ritual's power wasn't magic, it was moral and psychological. The whole dramatic performance was designed to make people confront their failings, feel genuine remorse, and be motivated to change inwardly.
It's an educational tool, almost. A trigger for inner transformation.
Exactly. It reconciles this ancient, seemingly literal practice with a more sophisticated theology where sin and atonement are internal states, not just external transactions. The outward act inspires the inward change.
That's a really significant shift. It connects to another major thinker who looked at this whole scapegoat idea, René Girard.
Absolutely. Girard's work on the scapegoat mechanism is fundamental here. Our source notes, the goat of Azazel is the scapegoat par excellence, addressing this universal human need to have one's faults borne by another man or beast.
Girard saw this as something deeply human, didn't he? Not just religious ritual.
He did. He argued that human societies are prone to conflict because we tend to desire what others desire. He called it mimetic desire. This leads to rivalry, envy, and potentially escalating violence, a mimetic crisis. When things get bad, Girard said, societies often unconsciously find a way out. They converge on a single victim, the scapegoat.
Someone to blame for everything.
Exactly. All the built-up tension, anxiety, anger gets projected onto this one figure who might be totally innocent or only partly responsible.
Here's where it gets really interesting. This isn't just about ancient ritual. It's about something deeply ingrained in us, a social mechanism.
That's Girard's point. The expulsion or killing of the scapegoat provides this cathartic release. It temporarily resolves the crisis, restores unity by focusing all the negativity outward onto the victim. It's a primitive, often brutal form of social control.
So the Azazel goat ritual is like a formalized, controlled version of that.
Precisely. It channels that inherent human tendency into a sanctioned religious rite. It provides a clear target for collective blame, a way to ritually purge anxieties and transgressions, reinforcing social cohesion. It addresses that deep need to externalize and be cleansed. It's unsettling, but maybe functional for keeping groups together.
A way to manage internal conflict by projecting it outwards onto a designated carrier. Wow. And what's truly mind-blowing is that this isn't just a biblical or even Near Eastern thing. These patterns, these scapegoating mechanisms, they show up everywhere, across different times and cultures.
It's astonishingly widespread. This is where someone like Sir James Frazer comes in. With his massive work, The Golden Bough, he documented countless examples.
Right. Frazer compiled all these rituals from around the world. He called it magical thinking, didn't he?
He did, which sounds a bit dated now, but his point was about the underlying logic. This belief that intangible things, sin, disease, bad luck, can be made tangible, put onto something else, and then physically removed.
Like you can literally banish misfortune.
That's the core idea. It's an attempt to gain control over frightening invisible forces, a way to restore order and well-being. And the parallels to the Azazel goat are often striking.
Let's look at some examples. There's one from Kizzuwatna, ancient Anatolia, way back around 2000 BCE.
Yes. After childbirth, which was often seen as ritually polluting, a woman would use 2 doves. One was sacrificed, the other released to fly away.
2 birds.
Yeah.
Like the 2 goats. One stays, one goes.
Exactly. And get this. A crimson thread was tied to the woman during the ritual.
Crimson. Just like the band on the Azazel goat. That's uncanny.
It really is. It shows this core pattern, sacrifice and release, purification, symbolic markers existed centuries before Leviticus in a totally different culture, a deep-seated practice.
And the Hittites had something similar too, for a really serious transgression.
Yes, for purification after bestiality. The offender would release a bird, there's the release element again, but also drive away a sheep.
Okay, drive away a sheep. like the scapegoat.
And here's the really chilling part. The text says the fault was transferred to whoever found the sheep.
What? So an innocent bystander could pick up the sin?
Apparently so.
Yeah.
It highlights the idea of transferable guilt, the desire to push the pollution out into the world, even if it risks contaminating someone else. A desperate measure.
Wow. And from Ugarit, even earlier, 24 centuries BCE,
Right.
they used a goat for protection.
Yes, a text commanded households, in times of war, to expel a goat to ward off danger.
So not just for sin, but for external threats too, like warding off disaster.
Exactly. It shows the concept was flexible, applied to moral failings, ritual impurity, and physical dangers like war. A general-purpose ritual for removing negativity.
It's amazing how versatile it was. And Fraser collected tons more examples, right, from all over.
Oh, yes. His work is a goldmine for this stuff, showing the sheer variety but also the underlying consistency of these practices. They reveal so much about shared human anxieties and coping strategies.
Let's talk about the Badaga funeral in India. A buffalo calf.
Right. Led around the deceased body 3 times, the dead person's hand placed on its head. The belief. The calf took on all the sins of the deceased.
Transferring individual sin, then, from the dead.
Exactly. To ensure their safe passage and protect the living. And then the calf was driven far away, never used again, becoming this sacred, untouchable carrier of sin.
Permanently removed, like the Azazel goat.
The parallels are strong. It provided comfort, closure. The sins were gone.
Then there's that really disturbing one from Uganda, after a war.
Yes, much darker. If oracles warned of evil clinging to returning soldiers, they'd perform a brutal cleansing.
Using captives and animals.
A slave woman from the captives, plus a cow, goat, poultry, a dog from the spoils. Outsiders, expendable.
And what did they do to them?
Took them to the border, broke their limbs, and left them there to die, unable to move.
Broke their limbs. Why so brutal?
To ensure absolute immobility, to guarantee the evil, the pollution of war, could not physically return. It's extreme, but it speaks to the depth of the fear and the desperate need for certainty that the contamination was gone for good.
A terrifying form of purification, making absolutely sure the evil stayed out.
It served a powerful psychological function, however horrific. Closure for the soldiers, safety for the community.
Okay, a very different vibe from the Dinkas on the White Nile. They used a sacred cow.
Yes, each family had one, deeply revered. But in times of major calamity war, famine, a family would surrender their sacred cow.
Sacrifice something truly valuable.
Exactly. Led by women across the river, into the bush, left to wander and be killed by predators.
So the community's problems are carried away by this cherished animal and then just dissolved back into nature, consumed by the wild.
That seems to be the symbolism, a profound sacrifice, giving up something precious to appease larger forces and let the chaos of nature absorb the community's misfortune.
And one last one. The Amara in Bolivia and Peru, during a plague, they used a llama.
A black llama, specifically. In 1857, they loaded it with clothes from sick people.
Tangible items representing the disease itself.
Right. Sprinkled alcohol on the clothes, maybe to purify or make them repellent, then released the llama into the mountains.
Hoping it would carry the plague away into the desolate landscape.
Exactly. Using the color black, the isolation of the mountains, all symbolic of removing this terrifying invisible threat, externalizing the disease.
Looking at all of these Kizawatna, Hittites, Ugrit, Badaga, Uganda, Dinkas, Aymara, the pattern is just undeniable, isn't it?
It really is. Select a victim, transfer the burden, sin, evil, disease, bad luck, and then expel or destroy the victim to cleanse the community. It's everywhere.
Which leads back to that question you raised.
Right. What does it tell us about human psychology that so many different cultures, often with no contact, independently develop such similar solutions to collective problems?
It suggests something fundamental about how we cope, doesn't it? This need to externalize, to blame, to purge.
It points to a deep, shared psychological mechanism for managing social tension and existential fear. Projecting problems outward onto a designated carrier seems to be a very old, very human strategy for survival and maintaining group cohesion.
It's such a powerful, persistent archetype. And as we wrap up this historical journey, looking at Azazel and how this scapegoat idea spread, we have to touch on how it culminates for many people, particularly within Christianity.
Absolutely. Christian theology picks up this ancient thread and reinterprets it in a really profound way. For Christians, Jesus is seen as the ultimate fulfillment and also the end of the scapegoat pattern.
How so? He takes on that function.
Yes, but in a unique and definitive way. The understanding is that his death wasn't just another sacrifice, but the sacrifice. He willingly took on the sins of all humanity to wash them away once and for all.
So it moves from a recurring ritual, like the Azazel goat once a year.
To a single pivotal event in history with universal implications.
The transfer isn't done by laying hands on an animal, but by Jesus absorbing the world's sin through his suffering and death.
That's the core belief. He becomes the ultimate bearer of transgression, the one who carries it away, not into the wilderness, but through his death and resurrection, fundamentally dealing with it.
It connects back to that universal human need we talked about, right? The need for faults to be borne by another, for purification.
Exactly. Maimonides saw the ritual as symbolic for interchange. Girard saw the mechanism as social necessity. Christian theology takes that deep need for atonement and offers a spiritual, ultimate solution in the figure of Christ. It transforms the physical ritual into a cosmic, redemptive act.
Providing a final answer to that problem of sin and guilt that the earlier rituals were grappling with.
That's the theological claim. It offers a universal cleansing, fulfilling and transcending the temporary localized purges represented by the Azazel goat and its many cultural parallels. #outro.
Wow. So we've really covered some ground, from wrestling with Azazel's identity plays, demon, deity, goat, through the nitty-gritty of that Levitical ritual, the identical goats, the crimson band, the push into the void.
And then seeing those same core ideas, transference, expulsion echoing across thousands of years and countless cultures from Hittite sheep to Aymara llamas.
It all paints this picture of a really persistent human drive, doesn't it? This need to externalize our collective baggage, our sins, our fears, our misfortunes, and find a way to get rid of it.
Absolutely. And the broader implication isn't just historical. It shines a light on something fundamental about human nature, about how societies function, how we try to cope with guilt, fear, chaos. It's a deep-seated mechanism.
So what does this all mean for us today? We don't literally push goats off cliffs anymore, thankfully.
No, but it challenges us to think, doesn't it? How do we process and externalize blame now, even without the explicit rituals? Modern societies are full of scapegoating, aren't they?
You mean like in politics,
Well, yeah.
blaming one group for complex problems.
Exactly. Or social ostracization, singling people out online, maybe? Projecting collective anxieties onto specific groups. That universal human need to have faults borne by another hasn't gone away. It just manifests differently.
So the mechanism is still there, just maybe harder to see sometimes.
Perhaps. It makes you wonder, who are today's scapegoats? What collective burdens are we, maybe unconsciously, offloading onto them? It challenges us to look at how we handle blame, fear, and the desire for purification in our own lives and our own time.
That's definitely something to think about. As you go about your week, maybe keep an eye out. Where do you see the echoes of Azazel and that ancient scapegoat tradition playing out today? It's a lens that reveals a lot about us. That's all for this deep dive. We hope it gave you some new insights into a concept that's shaped human history and maybe still shapes us more than we realize.